In the headlines, APC Northern Christians reject Muslim tickets. Last-minute rush for voter registration as exercise closes on Sunday. Elon Musk files countersuit against Twitter over $44 billion deal. And on the foreign scene, Ukraine says cause of Russians killed in Kherson fight. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Dashan Hussaina Usman. And now to politics. Northern Christian members of the ruling All Progressives Congress have held a summit where they formally rejected the party's Muslim presidential ticket for the 2023 election. According to them, the ticket goes against all the principles of equity, fairness and justice. Joining party stalwarts such as Yakubu Dogara and Babachir Lawal were members of the Christian Association of Nigeria and clergymen who said Christians in the north must rise against the injustice of the ruling party. They opined that the ticket was an attempt to further divide the country. On his part, Dogara, former Speaker of the House of Representatives, said Nigeria is at a dangerous crossroad if an important issue like religion is not properly balanced to reflect the interests of all parties in the country. Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State has reacted to the events that have unfolded in the aftermath of the presidential primary election of the People's Democratic Party. The governor, who spoke on Friday at the Port Harcourt International Airport, faulted the speech of the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar on the day he unveiled Governor Ifeanyi Okowa as his running mate, while accusing the former vice president of telling lies, as well as using some party chieftains to spread falsehood against his person. The governor vowed to respond to both the party's flag bearer and the party chieftains, whom he described as Atiku's attack dogs, one by one in due time.
I will react line by line, statements made by Atiku Abubakar himself and his attack dogs. I will do that. I've heard a lot of stories. For example, some senators called me that Atiku Abubakar said he sent Bukola Saraki to be. That is not fair. That is not correct. I was in Spain. Bukola came to be. I said, my brother, how do you settle this problem? I said, where you stand that Atiku Abubakar? I said, no. So Abubakar Atiku has never, forget about sending rent seekers around him as scavengers. In fact, some of them will call my friends, oh boy, tell your guy now, make him support us. It has reduced to that level. I have become guy. Atiku Abubakar came to my house to say I should support him. So he doesn't know my house again. He doesn't know my house. I should let Nigerians to know at the appropriate time, after the commissioning of the projects we have lined up, to say, look, this is correct, this is not correct.
As the continuous voter registration closes this Sunday, July 31st, registrants in the FCT are still trooping registration centers to be enrolled. At some registration centers, prospective registrants decried the inadequate machines and personnel for the exercise. Musa Luka reports.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has extended registration to July 31st. As the extended date draws nearer, registrants still in mass visit the registration centers to be captured. Speaking to some registrants at the registration centers, some expressed pride that they have been visiting for days but still could not register due to lack of proper coordination and inadequate machines.
No machines. If there were at least 10 to 15 machines here, you would see the work will go faster. It's not possible to achieve a good result with just 2 machines. It's not possible. So I don't know if this news could get to authorities in charge to increase the number of personnel, maybe machines or even laptops or something to make the work easier.
To make it easy for people like us that have gotten it, but one or two things happen to our PVC. We are supposed to just go to INEC office and show them. Then they will log in if Nigeria has a good data system base. we are not supposed to be here. But now that they joined all of us together, both the new people and those that wanted to transfer and those that want to apply for new ones, look at this is the result. There is no line, there is nothing.
The whole situation is nothing to
somewhere they will say because police people were not there. I'm trying to tell the police people that the whole people should go out remaining 10 so that the boy will not come to attend to them. He said no, that I am shouting. The whole crowd now going to. How can one person
3 days?
Is there only one person? Now one person.
My advice to the INEC is that they should provide more machine so that to enable everybody just get registered and go their way.
Registrants plead with INEC to extend the registration exercise again as the desire by citizens to participate in the election next year is rising. Musa Luka, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Barely 42 hours to the official closure of the ongoing continuous voter registration exercise, a large number of eligible voters besieged the Independent National Electoral Commission headquarters and other registration centers in Kaduna metropolis for the exercise. Some of them at different centers told Trust TV that the registration exercise is very slow as they arrived at the centers at 5 a.m. INEC, however, attributes the large turnout to people's attitude of coming out to register at the 11th hour. The report.
For over a year now, since the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC resumed the continuous voter registration exercise across the country. Since then, some Nigerians presented themselves at INEC offices in the 36 states and FCT for the registration. INEC has earlier fixed June 30th to suspend the exercise, but later extended it to July 31st after calls from many quarters. With just 2 days to conclude the exercise, eligible voters besieged INEC offices in Kaduna State for the registration, expressing dismay on the difficulties they face.
Since in the morning, I'm not sure we are up to 40 that they've done for.
I don't think most of us will not do this thing. We abandon our work, we abandon everything, and we are here suffering.
We've been here very early in the morning, and up to this moment, it has not gotten to our turn.
I came here since 4 something this morning, and they say we should write our name. So we write the name, first list, second list.
I visited about 3 places. I was in Tudunwada, I was in Kurumaji, I came here, and now they're telling me that I should move to Kinshasa, that's the head office of the INEC.
At the INEC headquarters, another army of will-be voters waited to be registered.
So they gave us number today, but they didn't call it, they said maybe when they are done with that other people. And based on the line is too much there.
Despite the difficulties people face before they register, people with special needs are exempted considering their challenges.
No, I am appreciating how the INEC people are accepting us as people with disability. They show more consideration on us.
It was easy. We, the special students and candidates, they don't allow us to go into the line. We do our own separate.
INEC Administrative Secretary Kaduna Office Awal Mashi attributes the large turnout to the last-minute rush when the exercise will be suspended.
Nigerians are always used to doing things at the last minute. What is normally called, well, I don't know whether it's normal or not, but what is generally called the fire brigade approach. We have been doing this exercise for close to 400 days today, almost 400 days, 13 months. And when we started the exercise, there were times when you go to these registration centers, only 2 or 3 people will be registered in a day. And today we have an influx of people.
Will this large crowd get registered before the deadline? Only time will tell. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Security experts have described the cases of terrorist attacks and security breaches in the country in the year 2022 as the worst in the last decade. The experts said this on Trust TV's flagship program, Daily Politics, to give their perspectives on the state of Nigeria's security architecture. Saged Ibrahim completes the report.
worry over the rising cases of terrorist attacks in 2022.
I think it is right to say that the security situation in Nigeria is unfortunately deteriorating by the day. And we could look at incidents like the Abuja or Kuje attack or the other attacks we saw recently in Abuja and attempted attacks. But even when you look at the broader trend and pattern, you would see that this year is already becoming the deadliest year in the past 10 years.
Bukati also gave a breakdown of the number of casualties affected by insecurity in the country, adding that a majority of them were from the northern region.
6,698 Nigerians have been killed in the first 6 months of this year alone. And this is something I know Daily Trust has also reported on. If you looked at 6,698 people, that is over 1,116 people every single month. That's over 37 people every day. 37 people is 2-seater buses. The amount of people 18-seater buses accommodate are killed every single day in Nigeria, and 82% of this is in the northern part of Nigeria.
Former spokesman for the Nigerian Army, Brigadier General Sani Kukasheka, condemned plans by the National Security Council to ban commercial motorcycle operations across the country.
But under the present circumstances, you are just holding, the means of livelihood of law-abiding Nigerians and encouraging the criminals, because this ban, to a large extent, will not even affect them. I hope you understand. So basically, these are the issues. Maybe we need to have a rethink. Unless, of course, the modalities are made known to us. The period of time and what will be what will they be doing? Desperate situation require desperate measures, and part of the desperate measures, but I think it is not the best. There are other alternatives that we can think of.
He tasked the Nigerian government to instead go after those benefiting from Nigeria's insecurity situation.
A lot of people are benefiting from this unfortunate security situation we found ourselves. But it is the duty of those that are responsible to know who are those people that are benefiting. Whenever you have this issue, you have chain of people that benefit from that.
They, however, called on Nigerians to take responsibility for their well-being by actively participating in the electoral process to vote for credible leaders.
So I think the beginning point is to admit that as a people, we have not taken responsibility for our well-being and for our livelihood.
As a people, you mean the citizens or the leadership?
Yes, and I'll explain what I mean.
That's right.
It's okay for me to lament and point a finger at my president or my governor or my chairman, as the case may be. But how did that person come to power? What role did we participate? Are we not in a pre-election year? What role are we playing at the moment?
Sagir Ibrahim reporting for Trust TV.
You're watching Trust News Update. Coming up after the break. IDPs decry lack of shelters in resettled communities. Do stay. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Let's take a look at some of our top stories. You heard that APC Northern Christians reject Muslim tickets. We also told you that last-minute rush for voter registration as exercise closes on Sunday. Menstrual hygiene, an integral part of a woman's well-being, can be challenging where clean water, toilet facilities and sanitary products are inadequate. Trust TV spoke to one of the freed female victims of the Kaduna-Abuja train attack in Kaduna, and she shares how women hostages handle menstrual hygiene while in captivity.
Beyond the trauma of isolation and fear of being killed, female victims of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack have to grapple with the extra trauma of menstrual hygiene. One of the freed victims could not stop being emotional, pausing at intervals to compose herself while recounting her experience in the forest with her abductors.
Honestly speaking, I'm not sure if I even want to talk about that, because that's one of the terrible and traumatic side of it all. I'm not sure if I really want to talk about it, but then, like, it wasn't hygienic. It was dangerous, knowing that you have to share a rag. Actually, someone from the men gave us his clothes, like his agbada, and we had to cut it into pieces. And we shared it, like, we cut it into pieces, knowing that, okay, when Mr. A starts menstruating, uses it, finish, before Mr. B starts, wash it, dry it, Mr. B uses the same rack, like...
She is optimistic that remaining abducted passengers will be freed in the not too distant future.
I want to remain optimistic about their release and be hopeful, like keeping my hope high and hoping that whatsoever the case is, I just pray that God just intervene, because He's the author of it all. Like, that's the only person I can depend on right now.
Among those she hopes will be freed one day is her sister that was kidnapped along with her. She urges the federal government to meet the demands of the abductors.
Because even the government, like... But I'm very sure that, well, I don't know when, I don't know how long it's going to take, but then I know that no matter what time, at God's time, they are definitely going to come back in one piece.
While the relatives of the train attack victims are praying to reunite with their loved ones, many believe that stronger synergy between security agencies and communities will make a huge difference in defeating banditry and terrorism in the country. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
As all IDP camps in Maiduguri close officially, some displaced persons are worried about where they will live as they return to their liberated communities. This comes as the state governments began the settlement of over 60,000 IDPs to their local governments. Trust TV spoke to some displaced persons on the relocation exercise. The report.
At the beginning of the IDP camp closure in Maiduguri, 6 camps were shut down last year with thousands resettled back to their communities. The final phase of the exercise on Thursday witnessed additional 4 camps, which include Dalori 1 and 2, Gubio and Muna Garage camps. Ali Bukar is among over 11,000 displaced persons living for Konduga local government area. He says where to live with his family when he reaches his hometown is his problem. He plans to engage in farming but seeks for support.
Kana jin dadin komawa?
Alhamdulillah muna jin dadin komawa. Amma ba mu da wajen zama. Ba mu da daki komai.
I'm happy going back to my village, but we have nowhere to stay and we need food too. If the government can provide these things, it will really help. Yes, I'm willing to go back home. I'm not afraid, because the place is safe now. The only thing is that there is no place to live there, no food, no access to water, and our husbands don't have any handwork to do. The state government said it's implementing the world standard rules, which gives the free will for displaced persons to choose where to live.
We have identified many of them who are willing to go back to their ancestral homes. There are few of them who decided to stay here in Maiduguri. But I think those who decided to go homes are much more higher than those who decided to stay.
What is the level of readiness of those communities that they are going to establish?
Well, before we start even embarking on the return process, we make sure that we provided what is called the shelter, that is the housing for them to go and stay, and then there's also what we call checklist, which involve all the facilities needed for us to complete this process of resettlement: water facilities, health care facilities, educational facilities. All what is needed is already on ground for them to go and start their places of life.
Despite the expected challenges to pick up life, Ali Bukar and other displaced persons are hopeful that the return of peace in their once destroyed communities will be buried with the new life to fulfill for the future.
In business, Elon Musk has filed claims against Twitter as he fights the tech firm's lawsuit demanding he be held to his $44 billion purchase deal. Musk mounted a legal defense against Twitter's claim that he is contractually bound to complete the deal he inked in April, the Chancery Court in the state of Delaware said in a notice on Friday. The Tesla boss wooed Twitter's board with a $54.20 dollar per share offer, but on July 8 he announced he was terminating the agreement on accusations the firm misled him regarding its tally of fake and spam accounts. Twitter sued days later, calling the fake account claims a distraction and saying Musk was bound by the merger contract to close the deal at $54.20 per share. One of the basic rights of every Nigerian citizen is a right to housing. However, certain challenges facing the real estate sector has affected the affordability and availability of durable homes, leaving many either out in the cold or living in dangerously substandard homes. Chamunda Bang reports.
Nigeria's housing deficit continues to be a major issue as the country currently has a housing deficit of 28 million housing units. It is a challenge that needs to be solved quickly to meet up with the demands of Nigeria's population of over 200 million.
The Nigerian housing structure is in the limbo, I can say, at the moment, because in Nigeria we have huge housing deficits. In fact, CBN statistics represents that as at 1999 we have about 20 million housing deficit in Nigeria. And for us to bridge that gap, we need to produce about 750,000 houses every year for 17 years.
I would say economy is another thing that is making us experience housing deficit, both by developers and also those that are buying into the estate. For developers, the cost of materials in the market is discouraging. Only heavyweights that know their way are able to do this thing these days. And only heavyweights also that know their way are able to buy. So the economy is also a strong factor to housing deficit in Nigeria.
Vice President of Nigeria, Yemi Osinbajo, has indicated that 75% of the houses in Nigeria are substandard.
Yes, that statement is actually true because the cost of production in Nigeria is very high, and you find out that people that produce housing solutions are finding different ways to cut corners so that they will also make high profits. Even the Federal Capital Development Authority always deploy their engineers to go and inspect houses to make sure that there is no collapse in the future. So Nigerians should also actually come up to that speed to produce houses that are of quality, houses that are durable, that will stay hundreds of years.
But not all persons agree with him.
I don't agree with that statement because before you can even go into estate development, there are institutions that verify your authentication, and also you have to qualify your engineers, you understand, and construction workers. They have a particular certificate to tender. If we are verifying the materials are okay for the building, how then will the Vice President now say the houses are below standard?
Looking beyond the standards, how available are houses to the ordinary Nigerian? In urban centers, the question may not be about a shortfall in houses. Nigeria has a number of empty houses all over the major urban centers, including the Federal Capital Territory, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Onitsha, and Asaba. Why is the cost of housing so high that it discourages people from taking residence in them?
Houses are very expensive in Nigeria, especially in Abuja. And it also goes back to what I said before, the cost of production. Housing materials are very expensive. A lot of them are imported. Even to the lists of the material block. If they give you the price of block today, by next week, another price has changed.
Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Away from Nigeria, the Ukrainian military said on Saturday it had killed scores of Russian soldiers and destroyed 2 ammunition dumps in fighting in the Kherson region, the focus of Kyiv's counteroffensive in the south and a key link to Moscow's supply lines. Rail traffic to Kherson over the Dnipro River had been cut. The military's southern command said potentially further isolating Russian forces west of the river from supplies in occupied Crimea and the east. Ukraine has used Western-supplied long-range missile systems to badly damage 3 bridges across the Dnipro in recent weeks, cutting off Kherson city and, in assessment, British defense officials leaving Russia's 49th Army stationed on the west bank of the river highly vulnerable. It said more than 100 Russian soldiers and 7 tanks had been destroyed in fighting on Friday in the Kherson region, the first major town captured by the Russians following their February 24th invasion. And finally, in sports, a sportswear manufacturer has come to the rescue to produce last-minute kits for the Nigerian team at the Commonwealth Games. MG Sportswear in Kidminster was approached to make hundreds of items on Tuesday after the team said they were let down by their suppliers. Manager Gino Rufinato said his 14 staff had been working round the clock to get the garments finished. As the games begin, he will personally deliver the order to Birmingham later. Athletes for Team Nigeria are to take part in the opening ceremony for the Commonwealth Games at the Alexander Stadium in Birmingham. With this, we've come to the end of Trust News Update. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Dashan Husseina Usman. Thanks for watching.